All right. Yes, indeed it is. Once again, time for the Kanika Sports Show, everybody. I am your host, Kenny, and I am joined on this Monday by the one, the only, she's my lovely wife, Nika. Good afternoon, Nika.
Hello, Kenny, and hello to our new and returning listeners all over the globe. Since we are part of the World Classic Baseball, we've been watching, we've been following.
Classic Nika there going dyslexic. It's World Baseball Classic, but World Classic Baseball works as well. You know, it is a classic game where I come from.
It is, and it does look like they are playing more of a classical baseball versus high heats and home runs.
Well, in the World Baseball Classic, some of the teams have to rely on what all of us have to rely on in our baseball careers, which is just playing the game at a lower quality level and some of those kinds of tricks. Like we saw somebody throw a really slow pitch yesterday, right?
Yeah, it almost looked like a slow-mo.
Yeah, I call it the whirly-durly.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a cool name.
Exactly. It kind of floats up there.
It was floating.
All right. Well, it is 24 days now until opening day, everybody. Woo! Exciting stuff. March 3rd is the date on the calendar. We got to see Jackson Merrill.
Action, Jackson. And action is on the way.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Hit his first spring training home run yesterday, and it was a thing of beauty. Just over the left center field fence, pretty much straightaway center, creeping a little bit towards left. I love seeing that out of a left-handed bat, by the way. So
that was his first homer, right?
It was his first home run. He's having a nice spring after a nice spring last year, which earned him a spot on the team. I'm not really surprised. I think he was probably sleeping in a sleeping bag outside of headquarters before spring training opened, waiting for the gate to unseal.
At least he had a good weather for it.
Definitely down here in Arizona. Good stuff all around. The Padres were actually the subject of the 3015 visit yesterday on MLB Network's. They're visiting all 30 team spring training camps in 15 days. So basically 2 a day. And yesterday was the Padres, also the Astros. We also heard from the Mariners and Cardinals over the weekend. So us being a more of a West Coast centered podcast, I clipped a few of the sound bites from the Mariners, but a lot from the Padres. And we'll be playing those at the end of the podcast, if time permits, to get through some fun sounds from spring, as I like to call it.
So they are down by 4 teams already. They have the remaining 28 left.
Yes. Oh, they have done more than that.
Oh, they just
they've been going fast.
Oh, okay.
Breezing through them 2 a day, and it started like last Thursday or so. So like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, now like Monday. Like they've already done 8 teams. There's probably 22 left, but I mean, they're going to go through another 10 or another 8 by Friday when we do the podcast. So I'll be keeping my ears open, you know, if any interesting sound bites come up. We can't play them all because, like I said, time permits. We try to keep the podcast a little bit around an hour so that it can go on all the platforms with their limitations. You know, I like to babble, so I'm trying to put a lid on it, keep a muzzle on myself a little bit so everything is more productive for our listeners. Speaking of which, we've got a great show planned for everybody today. We've got some news. We've got some Pete Rose news. We've got some Albert Pujols news to get to. A little follow-up from last week's coaching announcement. And the WBC, as Nika said, is happening. We're going to be talking about what's been going on with that. Rumors are happening for the Reds and Yankees. And we got our Stop the Presses segment. This is new. We're going to be talking about a little debate that came up because the NFL Combine happens to be, it's over now, I believe. But some interesting baseball drama started happening at the NFL Combine last week, and we're going to talk about that. Also, our good friend Mad Max Scherzer has a little problem with the ABS system, and we're going to talk about that as well. That's in our Stop the Presses segment coming up later. And we got also some injuries to talk about. I mentioned the rumors, and we've also got a new Beyond the Box Score segment for you, everybody. So a lot to get to here on this Monday afternoon. But without further ado, Nika, I think it's time for breaking news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
This bullet just handed to me.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
We got breaking news just before we came on the air, actually. The the Milwaukee Brewers, everyone, are signing Jose Quintana. This came out of completely left field, I feel like, for the Southpaw. We were hearing last on the rumors segment that the Padres, Mets, and Rangers were the favorites to land the veteran left-hander. Not to be. He heads back to the National League Central, where he was once upon a time a Cub, and is now, I think he might have been on the Pirates too at one point. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's true. Jose Quintana back to the NL Central, now a Brewer in Milwaukee.
I think he's making rounds in the Midwest, from the Cubs to the White Sox, now go back to the Brewers.
He must like the food in the Midwest, everybody. They got that good dairy land up there too, Nika. Maybe he knows a farmer.
It's a very surprised move. It was not on the radar.
Yeah, I didn't have this on my radar. And, well, Cubs fans are probably going to be like a little bit disgruntled about this signing because they want to win the division this year, and they should win the division this year. And now the Brewers are always tough. You know, they've been the perennial tough team, and they're well managed. So this just puts a little extra heat. Obviously, Craig Counsell left the Brewers, and so he is now managing the Cubs, and they got to compete against him. So
there's going to be it's a drama and rivalry brewing between those two teams.
It's always kind of been there underneath the surface, but I think Craig Counsell leaving the Brewers last year is what kind of gave them their edge. Pat Murphy as the manager must have really like fed into it, because they came out fisticuffing last year. If you'll remember, they were like into it with the Mets, like opening weekend, and they were just playing with some fire and some tenacity out of the gate, led by Rhys Hoskins. The Brewers played with a chip on their shoulder. And I'm curious to see if it keeps going. Like if Craig Counsell made one of the worst career decisions, is basically to like leave your in-house division rival for their rival and basically give them locker room material for the rest of your existence.
But he got paid.
He did get paid, but at what cost, Nika? At what cost?
Yeah, that's a good question. But
it is a great question.
And Pat Murphy won the Manager of the Year last year.
He did. And now he gets a new lefty to manage. He's probably excited about that. Quintana was one of the most underrated free agents, I feel like. He's just fine wine. He gets better with age. And
he did.
We'll see if he continues this year. But I was impressed with him last year on the Mets. And I'm really surprised with their injuries that they weren't able to land him. I'll wait and see what the money looks like on this one, because we don't know. This literally is breaking.
So we don't know how long and how much.
We don't yet. But I would assume it's a 1-year deal. This comes off the heels, of course, of him getting scratched from Columbia. He was supposed to pitch in the WBC this week, but he is not anymore. All right. Well, we got other news around to get to, so let's get on it. Pete Rose, everybody, is being reconsidered for reinstatement. This is really not very long after his death, everybody. But nevertheless, it's happening. This is a statement from the family lawyer, Jeffrey Lenkov. He's a Los Angeles lawyer who represented Rose prior to his death and is now representing his oldest daughter, Fawn Rose, who met with Robert Manfred and an MLB spokesman, Pat Courtney, in the commissioner's office on December 17th. A quote, "The commissioner was respectful, gracious, and actively participated in productive discussions regarding removing Rose from the ineligible list," Lenkov said of the 1-hour meeting in the commissioner's office. Lenkov said he is seeking Rose's removal from the MLB's banned list for betting on baseball, quote, "so that we could seek induction into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, which had long been his desire and is now being sought posthumously by his family," end quote. Wow, no waiting period.
No waiting period. If this happens, is he eligible to be in the Hall of Fame this year? You have to vote it for the next year.
They already voted this year. I'm not sure how the Veterans Committee works or if special commendations will be afforded, but I don't think so. I think they would have to wait a year.
Okay.
And it would be on next year's ballot. I feel like they're either trying to capitalize on like the emotional impact of his death right now and get it done and over with, because I think, most baseball fans want to see Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, even though they know what he did was wrong. They still think his accolades as a player should be awarded and have some place there. And I don't know if I feel the same way as about the home run hitters of the 90s and stuff. But nevertheless, baseball has had a hardline stance against gambling for a really, really long time. And it would be definitely a break from that. And it makes me wonder what else would get opened up as a result of this. Like, would we see Shoeless Joe Jackson and some of the Black Sox who had great career numbers but were kicked out of baseball?
Well, somebody from their families will have to initiate this whole thing? Or
Perhaps. I mean, it'll just be something that probably evolves over time, you know, and
Okay.
if one gets undone, what else will get undone and what?
Right, but does that open doors for anybody, or family has to engage and try to get that going?
I think obviously someone has to get the process started.
Yeah.
There has to be a lobbying process. We see what's happening right now with Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa trying to maybe preempt this whole thing from happening the way it went down with Pete Rose. I don't think they want to be 80 and on death's door and not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
They might be. I'm not saying that they will or won't be. They very well might be in that predicament themselves, no matter what they do. But we've also seen that they are trying to rehab their image. You know, they are trying to become ingrained as a part of baseball again, so that it just looks and feels like, oh, we belong together, and everyone kind of forgives and forgets. I feel like we are holding the sports players to a higher standard than like political figures. It's ingrained in the media this way, and it's terrible. So you see why things are the way they are when sports figures are held to a higher standard, when it's just a game. All right. Well, we'll wait and see what happens with Pete Rose. Obviously, it's going to be a big story if he gets in. So
Definitely.
we'll be following. But meanwhile, Albert Pujols, who we announced last week was going to be managing Team Dominican Republic in next year's World Baseball Classic, he is also apparently wanting to be an MLB manager as early as next year. So I'm curious how that's going to work. Is he going to be managing a WBC team and a pro team at the same time? Like, that seems like a lot to juggle. So I guess if he gets a major league job, he would have to give up his WBC job. And honestly, I would do it. Like, the amount of money you would get as a major league manager and the opportunity, you might not ever get it again. The interesting thing that comes up is, who would he actually manage next year? Like, where is there going to be an opening? Right away, you think to St. Louis and Anaheim, because those are the two teams he played for. And Ron Washington seems pretty cemented right now, at least in Anaheim. It's only year number 2, and they just started a new thing together to change the culture there. And St. Louis, I don't know what to make of St. Louis anymore. I guess anything could happen, right? And it seems like Oli Marmol is like the guy, but is he?
I don't know. They seem very disorganized in St. Louis.
Well, I feel like anything could happen there. So that could wind up being a crazy possibility. I guess when you look around baseball, it's tough to look at what managers would be on the ropes at the end of this year, because Cleveland got a new manager, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Chicago Cubs recently, Chicago White Sox, Mets, Yankees just extended Boone. Mike Schultz there extended at the Padres. Dave Roberts ain't going anywhere. He just won a ring. Bob Melvin, maybe. Dan Wilson, he's a first-year manager basically with Seattle. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he would have taken the job. You know, Bochy might resign again, so Texas's job might open up, but Pujols doesn't have any ties to Texas that I know of, so it's just kind of an odd pairing. Yeah, it is. You know, is he going to stroll in a cowboy hat and be like, I'm the new sheriff in town?
Maybe.
All right, well, maybe we'll have AI generate a Sheriff Pujols image for our show today. Fun stuff. I love that AI cover art we make, by the way.
I know it's fun.
It's fun. Let us know if you guys are enjoying it. We've been having a good time making it. All right. Well, speaking of the WBC, Nika, we've been watching the new WBC tournament going on. It started yesterday afternoon. We were treated to China taking on Germany to start things off. And then last night we had Brazil and Colombia. We had a no-hitter going in that game for a while, but it was not meant to be. Nevertheless, Colombia, they won big last night, and they got off to a hot start in this little round-robin tournament, it's called. And Germany, they won by slaughter rule against China, 12-2. Now, there is baseball going on already today, and we have Brazil leading Germany 4-1 in the bottom of the fifth. So it looks like we're not going to get this classic 2-0 matchup on the final day, basically before the final round robin game. So in case you're aware of how this works, like every team plays each other in a 4-team setup, 3 games total. Whoever has the best record gets an automatic berth into the WBC next year. Whoever has the bottom 2 records, so number 2 and number 3 out of 4, they play each other on the final day, which is going to be March 6th, which is Thursday. So this will all be over by Friday, and we'll be able to report on who is going to be advancing then. But we were kind of hoping that Germany and Colombia would go undefeated till tomorrow because they are scheduled to play each other tomorrow. And I think out of all the teams, those are the teams we were kind of hoping to see advance here, just based on, you know, Germany's cool because it's close to Poland and we're Polish and you're German. So it's a little bit home hitting. And Colombia just has some good major league players on it.
Out of these 4 teams, Colombia seems to be the most major league ready. And Germany comes from Europe, so you don't really hear a lot of baseball, European baseball. So
yeah, we just want to have them represented, I think.
Yeah.
Fun times. But yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how this one ends up today between Brazil and Germany. And Colombia takes on China later tonight. And then, like I said, we got that Germany-Colombia matchup tomorrow and China and Brazil. So we'll wait and see how it all shakes out. I'm not expecting much from China, but who knows? Maybe they'll surprise me. Anyways, yeah, World Baseball Classic's going on, and it'll be over by Friday. So make sure you check it out. It's on everywhere, by the way. I'm looking here right now on the main page, but it is on YouTube. It's on MLB.com. It's on basically like a lot of places you can stream, and it's free.
It's free.
So I think it's on Facebook as well. But just keep an eye open for it if you want to watch. It's like I said, it can be a different brand of baseball. Some floater pitches, some whirly-durlies, but good stuff. All right. Well, we spent a lot of time on the World Baseball Classic, everybody. It is time to get to our newest, one of our newest segments, Stop the Presses, everybody.
Stop the press. Listen, I'm sorry about what I said. I was being an idiot.
Excellent example of infield journalistic investigative technique.
Therefore, your heinous comment will be stricken from the record.
People love it when you lose. They love dirty laundry.
I just happen to notice that our presses aren't running, which strikes me as rather odd since we are, after all, a newspaper.
All right. Well, Stop the Presses is where we find questionable takes from the modern mainstream media and play them for you. And sometimes we find conflicting viewpoints like today. And today we actually found 2 pretty relevant topics that have 2 conflicting viewpoints to play for everybody. And then Nika and I are going to talk about them. It's kind of a fun little segment we call Stop the Presses. And it's just basically where we hold the mainstream media accountable. But first up, we got this developing segment, or this developing situation, I should say, from the NFL Combine that happened. And if you're unfamiliar, there is a player from Colorado, the Buffaloes, managed by the great Deion Sanders, everybody. His name is Travis Hunter, and he is a NFL draft prospect this year. And if you're unfamiliar with that, well, they had a combine last week, and that's where all these guys show up and do drills and sprints and all this fun stuff in front of all the general managers and get their measurements taken. And, you know, they're basically entered into the system, I guess, if you want to call it that. And it's their first major step towards becoming NFL employees. There's a lot of media that go to this NFL Combine, and Travis Hunter got some microphones put in front of him, and someone asked him about Shohei Ohtani because Travis Hunter is the equivalent of Shohei Ohtani in Major League Baseball, and that he plays on both sides of the football. He plays offense, wide receiver, and he plays defensive cornerback. And in the NFL, he wants to play on both sides of the ball and be a 2-way player in football.
So we have Stop the Presses and Daily Double in one. Ooh.
Exactly. So, yes, this is a Daily Double officially. This is number 1. And here is Travis Hunter himself explaining to the reporter his take on the situation.
What's more difficult for you doing football or what Probably me, what I do in football, because it's a lot on your body. You know, Tony, he's a great player, but you got to do a lot in football.
All right.
Well, he obviously feels like what he does is more taxing, at least on his body, and therefore more challenging. And well, I'm going to hold my opinion for a second, but I think what I definitely would say with Travis Hunter is anybody in his position right now is going to try and raise their draft value, right?
Absolutely.
Like, and try and become picked higher and higher, because the higher you get drafted in the NFL draft, the more guaranteed money you get as a rookie. And it's like a set pay scale. Anyways, here is Trevor May, who is a former major league pitcher for the Twins, the Mets, and the A's. And he's also a Twitch streamer nowadays, apparently. He was on MLB Network Radio talking about this very topic. And here's what he had to say about it.
There are good points that he makes. But when it comes down to, I think, hand-eye coordination and just like, one of the most unique things there is in sports is hitting a ball. Like there's nothing really that compares. And also throwing a baseball is different than any other sport. Like cricket's the only thing, and softball, which is also just the same type of sport. Like all the other sports, the skills don't translate. So like if you're trying to, that's why Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson are so amazing. It's because like the skill sets don't just naturally translate. You have to be good at both things. So it's, I think in baseball, pitching and hitting, they're so different and they don't really translate, that like to be as good as you are, as Ohtani is at both, is the most impressive thing in sports ever.
All right. Well, Trevor May, we can hear where he stands on this. He thinks Ohtani has a much more difficult job. Boy, I'm torn on this one. I understand how hard it is to hit a baseball. And pitch.
No doubt. But you have to also take under consideration whole body. You do have to run a lot when it comes to football.
I have a hard time looking at a lot of major league hitters and players just in general and seeing them play both sides of the football, right, like up and down the field, every play. If you've ever worn shoulder pads, everybody, you will know your shirt is drenched afterwards with sweat. You expend so much bodily fluid, and you need to replenish your bodily fluid so much faster. These baseball players barely break a sweat during the game.
Unless it's humid and it's in Georgia, then they sweat profoundly. Remember Dylan Cease from last year?
Well, that is happen. That does happen. Absolutely. That was the Orioles, I believe. There was a game, and there was also a game in Pittsburgh, right, where it was really humid.
St. Louis.
Oh, St. Louis. That's right. The humidity was terrible. Yes. I think the Padres couldn't wait to get out of there. It was so swampy. Oh man. Bringing back memories.
But with football and baseball comparison, it's two different sports, two different amount of energy that you expend.
Yeah, but I just think the baseball players are too pretty for the NFL. Most of them, they're afraid to get their hands dirty like NFL players are. And
they definitely, there is something there. Yep.
So I don't know. If you take the totality of the skill sets involved, like Ohtani has to pitch and hit, but he doesn't have to play a field position. I just think every 5 days going out there and working and pitching and then hitting, but you don't have to go out and field. Like you can just take it easy and do your pitching stretches even in the clubhouse in between innings. I think playing and running up and down, practicing every day, both sides of the ball, every day, football practice through training camp, like starting from July, potentially all the way to the end of December. That's half a year. I mean, you're literally every day doing this. I don't want to hear this. This is totally left out of the conversation.
What position does Travis Hunter play right now?
Wide receiver and cornerback. So it's basically the two players that cover each other.
Okay, so he will continue to do these.
He wants to do both. Yeah. And I think teams are going to let him try at least out of the draft and pay him to try. I think he feels like he can do both and is challenging himself to do both. And why not? Why not have a two-way player in football? It does put him at greater risk of getting injured probably.
Who do you think is going to draft him?
I don't know yet. to be honest, we are overdue for an NFL show because we haven't really done one since the Super Bowl. But free agency is about to start on March 8th, I believe. Is that right? Do you remember? Yeah, March 8th. And that's going to be when a lot of movement starts happening. So I think we're going to get an NFL show in as soon as some major news starts happening. And we did have a big major trade over the weekend with the Commanders and the 49ers, everybody. So, but we're here to talk baseball today. So we just happen to be brought up with this. I'm going to say football is the tougher two-way sport, even for running back. I'm sorry, even for wide receiver and cornerback. So
the last true two-way player in NFL was Chuck Bednarik.
Okay.
And he played center and linebacker for Philadelphia Eagles from 49 to 62.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
So probably was a lot more common back in the
back in the day?
Early days of the NFL in the 20s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
But now, no. Obviously. So, and I guess the thing that also gets left out of the debate is Deion Sanders, who we mentioned, and Bo Jackson, both who were two sport athletes, played football and baseball.
Yeah, you don't see that much.
Is that better and bigger than what Ohtani and Travis Hunter both are doing? But either way, everyone's a trendsetter and a pioneer. Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders both had, shortened careers too, probably from playing two sports. So it's hard. No one's saying anything is easy. Best of luck to Travis Hunter, by the way, as he goes into the NFL draft. And I hope he is successful at being two-way athlete so that he can pioneer the trend for more players, just as Ohtani's doing it in the MLB. All right, well, we had another daily double today, Nika. Can you cue it up? And this one comes courtesy of the new automated balls and strikes system that's currently going on around spring training. And our good friend Mad Max Scherzer had some thoughts about this, Nika. He said, quote, "I'm a little skeptical on this. I get what we're trying to do here, but I think Major League umpires are really good. They're really good. So what are we actually changing here? We know there are going to be strikes that are changed to balls and balls that are changed to strikes. So we're going to basically be even. So are we actually going to improve the game? Are the umpires really that bad? I don't think so. Can we just play baseball? Question mark. We're humans. Can we just be judged by humans? Do we really need to disrupt the game? I think humans are defined by humans." Some deep words there, Nika, from Max Scherzer.
Does he use his smoke signals when he wants to communicate with other people? Or he uses cell phone?
Interesting. Well, some other people had some thoughts, and one of them was Xavier Scruggs, and he had this to say on MLB Network Radio.
Yeah, there's going to be, guys that are a little bit against it, right? And it's going to be a lot of times the older guys that have to get used to change. Max Scherzer is not wrong about we will miss a lot of the human element, but also we want to get it right. We want to make sure that there is a consistent strike zone on both sides of the ball as a hitter and as a pitcher. That's going to benefit everybody. And change is always tough. But guess what? He's been one of the guys that hasn't gone through it, and he's got to get used to it like everybody else, and it won't affect him even this year anyway. So hopefully we can all expect things to get better for our game.
Well, you can see quite a bit of a contrast there, Nika. Xavier Scruggs, by the way, is a former first baseman. He played for the St. Louis Cardinals and the Miami Marlins in the MLB. He also played in the Korean Baseball League. So he's got some pedigree behind his words here. And I agree with him. I agree with him 100%. Like, this is not disrupting the game. It is fun.
It makes the game go faster.
It keeps fans engaged with the game in the actual stadium and gives them something to look at on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
So I like it. And I think the more opportunities we have to get calls right, we should take advantage of it with technology. And this is one of those things. Also, Max Scherzer, please go watch an Angel Hernandez highlight reel from last year. A guy that still is, I don't know, did he finally get asked to leave? But the fact that these things were allowed to happen and exist for so long is why this system is so popular with fans.
Also, Max Scherzer is on his way out. He doesn't have a new career coming in to be a starting pitcher. he is on his way out.
Careful, Nico. You're going to upset some Blue Jays fans.
Well, he's gonna have a great year, or he will not. I don't know.
I don't think we're going to see the return of Cy Young, Max Scherzer anytime soon. But Blue Jays fans, hold your breath. Maybe.
Sure. The point is, you try to make a statement about a system that you might not participate in for very long.
100%. All right. Well, I'm with Xavier Scruggs, and I hope that MLB actually, before the season starts, says we're going to keep this system. But it doesn't sound like they're going to.
Well, that just goes with Terry Francona. Like, why bother?
Yeah. All right. We're going to move on. We got some rumors to hit up.
Are the rumors true?
I love rumors.
You're all vulnerable to vicious rumors.
Well, you know how this town is. People talk and they spread these cruel rumors.
Rumors spread by whom?
And I'm just about to lose my mind. Honey, yeah.
All right. Well, we got a couple quick rumors today for you, everybody. But the first one up is that 3 Reds players are apparently looking for long-term extensions in the great city of Cincinnati. And those 3 players are Nick Martinez, tricky Nicky tight pants over there, Spencer Steer, the young slugger, and Tyler Stevenson, the first baseman / catcher. The Reds have not given out any extensions this offseason. So don't know if they feel the same way about this kind of young band of talent they have together over there. They are a young team that is definitely looking to improve by hiring Terry Francona. But I think they're going to take a year and wait and see if these players fit into the Terry Francona system of baseball, and not before that.
So they're taking the cautionary
Wait and see approach. Yeah.
Okay.
And also they got to probably look at locking up Ellie De La Cruz to a long-term extension. I'm sure they're not going to want to let him get away. Even if he doesn't turn out to be, everything that everybody wants him to be, I still think he's a colorful player that is going to bring in some fans.
Well, I don't think he reached his ceiling yet.
No. And he is very fast and has a lot of tools. And I think, they're obviously hoping Terry Francona can bring out more of those tools, cut down on those strikeouts, make him a better hitter. He's got it all. He can bat both sides of the plate. He can hit inside the park home runs. He's fast. He can steal bases on a whim. I mean, he's got all the tools you want in a baseball player, but I don't think he's put the discipline together and been given the coaching throughout his life yet that can make him great. Can Terry Francona do it? The Reds certainly hope so. All right. Well, we'll wait and see what they do in Cincinnati. But the New York Yankees, everybody, are eyeing up free agent DH JD Martinez, formerly of the Dodgers and last year the Mets, everybody. So this all has to do with Giancarlo Stanton and the status of his elbows and the fact that he's going to be starting the year on the injured list. So I guess my only question is like, what happens when Giancarlo comes back? You can't have 2 DHs. So I don't know. I'm not really buying this rumor yet. I think this is a little bit far-fetched. I think JD Martinez might be asking like, hey, what happens when Giancarlo comes back? So
he's like in his 30s, right?
As JD Martinez, he's going to be 36, I think,
he's
this
out
year.
there.
Yeah. But I mean, he still proved valuable for the Mets last year. And I'm really surprised nobody's taken a flyer on him yet. Even the Mariners. I mean, even the Mariners.
They didn't go for Justin Turner first.
Yeah, I know. The Cubs, they took a 40-year-old over
a
36-year-old. So, all right. That's all the rumors I got, Nika. Just a little short rumor segment today, but that's to be expected because the season is winding down. Or, I mean, the off season is winding down. Spring training is in full swing. And,
geez, we haven't had a game yet. And
well, moving into our next segment, which is going to be our injury report, just to kind of put a bow here on the rumors, as more injuries happen throughout spring training, you might start to see more rumors pop up with teams looking to plug holes, especially after we get through this walking wounded list. Good Lord. Are you ready, everybody?
Ready?
Yes, doctor.
Doctor, give me the news.
I must confess, you have an astonishingly good idea there, Doctor.
Damn it, man, I'm a doctor, not a torpedo technician.
Dr. Harris.
Yes?
Do you concur?
Is there anything you can do, doctor?
Somebody give me a doctor! Somebody give me a doctor!
Speaking of the Yankees, they lead off this week's injury report with 2 fresh new injuries. Starting pitcher Luis Gil, the Rookie of the Year last year for the American League, he is getting an MRI. He has shoulder tightness. They are awaiting back word on what the diagnosis is going to be here. I guess the one saving grace, if you're a Yankees fan, is this isn't his elbow. But man, shoulder injuries in spring training are they can go one of 2 ways. You know, one is like it's just an extra long stretch out period because he was used a lot last year, or he's going to have a rough season.
I think he's going to have a rough season.
Well, Yankees fans are really hoping you're wrong, Nika.
I hope so too, because he is an up-and-coming pitcher.
Yeah, we don't like to see these young up-and-coming pitchers get their arms ruined, you know. But again, who knows what kind of mechanics he's using. All right, well, on the other side of the ball, in the infield, DJ LeMahieu is having an MRI. He tweaked a calf muscle, according to Aaron Boone. So now the corner third base infield spot is once again, I guess, up for grabs because Jazz Chisholm's moving to second base. I don't know what's going on with the Yankees infield. I don't think they know anymore.
They have a similar situation as the Red Sox with the third infield, all these position players not knowing their jobs before the season.
Well, it's like the Red Sox got 2 third basemen and the Yankees don't have 1. So like, and no way do they want to help the Yankees out at all by giving them 1.
Hell no.
Hey, drama.
Baseball drama.
All right. Well, we're going to move from New York to Detroit, the Motor City, everybody. Parker Meadows, the rookie last year who came on strong for the Detroit Tigers and helped them get into the playoffs, he has a nerve issue in his right arm. That sounds a little bit funky.
Sounds painful.
I hope that this isn't something that's going to like detract his whole season, you know? Like I get nervous when I hear things about nerves and pain and, you know, obviously we all get a pinch or a feeling every now and again, right? But like this has to be somewhat serious if it's causing him to go on the injured list right now.
Yeah, what do you do? Rest it? I mean,
I don't really know. They didn't seem to know yet, like what the diagnosis is going to be. Meanwhile, Matt Vierling, who's an infielder, outfielder for the Tigers, giving them some depth. He has a rotator cuff strain, and he's also like questionable for opening day. And now all of a sudden the Tigers are probably wishing that they would have signed Alex Bregman because they're starting to look a little thin in spots where they had a plethora of players they no longer do. Interesting stuff happening there. All right, well, moving on. We got some breaking news this morning, actually, out of Atlanta, and that is that catcher Sean Murphy, who I believe was injured last year to start the year. That might be right. That might be the year before. I don't exactly remember when, but he has a broken rib, and he is going to be on the injured list and miss 4 to 6 weeks. Sounds pretty serious. Wishing him a speedy recovery. More broken bones, Nika. All right. Jeff Criswell, everybody, on the Rockies. Starting pitcher, he is out for the season. Another Tommy John victim. It's an epidemic, folks. We have like literally an episode, it feels like, going all the way back to the start of this podcast and when we started doing injury reports.
Yeah.
Not a joking matter. All right. Washington Nationals fans have been holding their breath because James Wood has been dealing with some quad tendonitis. He is back to DHing and he is expected to be ready for opening day. So good to see him on the field. Andrew Abbott for the Reds, he is doing better. He had shoulder stiffness when he got to spring training this year, but he threw a bullpen session and he is feeling good and says he's going to start the season in the rotation. I guess we'll see if he can get ready. And Manny Machado, he is day-to-day with back tightness. Just hopefully nothing serious here going on because he was just bragging about how healthy he and the whole team were. So don't want him to jinx it and definitely want to see the Padres star players kind of have a collective healthy season and see what that looks like together. And speaking of back tightness, Corbin Carroll in the NL West, like Manny Machado, also dealing with a bout of back tightness. And I actually caught a little bit of audio from Steve Gilly Gilbert on MLB Network this morning. He was on with Matty V, Matt Varsigian, and Harold Reynolds, who are seeming to be the off-season morning team, everybody. Let's hear what Steve had to say about Corbin Carroll's injury here.
We talked to him after he left that game and got some treatment. He said, he varied his routine. They had to go out to Surprise, which is about 50 miles away. So he doesn't usually lifts after a game, but knew that he wouldn't have access to the weights in Surprise. So he lifted before the game. He thinks that may have contributed a little bit to it, but he wasn't overly concerned. It was just a little tightness. He's going to take today off. They have an off day tomorrow, and then they'll see how he is on Wednesday. But he was neither he nor Torey Lovullo seemed very concerned about it.
Well, luckily, it sounds like this isn't anything too serious here. Wishing Corbin Carroll a speedy recovery. He has a really bad history with shoulder injuries, and the shoulder can be tied into the back. So I guess you kind of want to make sure that these things all are working in harmony with each other, right?
Absolutely.
So that's our injury report for today. I think we probably missed a couple out there. So if we missed one of your players, everybody, no hard feelings, and let us know which ones we missed, and we'll make note of it. But speaking of Corbin Carroll, I caught all of the Steve Gilly Gilbert's audio here, and it became the subject of our new segment, Beyond the Box Score, everybody. And apologies, I haven't made a musical intro for this yet, but I will. I promise it's coming. I love this segment. And I want to play this audio from Steve because Corbin Carroll, before this year, had never hit a spring training home run in his entire major league career. And I don't know how many spring trainings he's had, but he's had at least 2 before this season.
2 or 3, give or take.
Yeah. However, he's made an adjustment with his hands. He's holding his hands higher, and you're going to hear that here. And so let's actually just listen to Steve talk about Corbin Carroll's adjustments. Here we go.
He's got a little bit of a different setup at the plate. I have no idea if that actually is why he's having a great spring, but he's holding his hands a little different.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah, his bat's not angled down as much as it used to be, so it's helping him in his load. He can give you a real technical explanation for it that I probably can't even remember and explain. But whatever it is, it's working. He came into this year without any spring homers. He's hit, I believe, 3 this spring, and he's really hitting the ball hard. So again, he's a guy they weren't worried about even after the slow start last year. He really picked it up in the second half, and they're confident that that's still the Corbin Carroll they're going to see this year.
Looks like a left-handed Mookie Betts up there with the hands up there around the helmet.
And really quickly, I want to point out before we get into this that was Matt Varsigian at the end talking about how Corbin Carroll does look like a left-handed version of Mookie Betts. He's standing a little taller in the box too, but he's holding his hands close to his face and up higher. Interesting.
It's very interesting considering they are very similarly built.
Yes,
not
they
the
are.
Tallest, not the shortest, but built-wise, physically.
Yeah, and we also saw Fernando standing up taller in the batter's box, even though he's not as short, I would say, as Mookie and Corbin Carroll are. Still, I wonder if this is a trend or something happening around Major League Baseball institutions, but we'll wait and see how that works out for everybody once the regular season starts, because a lot of times spring training is really truly about trying new things or making adjustments from last year with what worked and what didn't work. And like, it's a constantly evolving game. Anyways, I'm fascinated by this because I've always felt like Corbin Carroll twerked his shoulder too much. Like the way he swung was a little bit fast and loose, if you will. And I felt like that's why he was injuring his shoulder.
You're right, because I remember you mentioning this when, a couple years ago when we first got introduced to Corbin Carroll, that his stance needs some adjustment, that he will have to make a second adjustment because the way he twerked his back, not to get it injured again.
No, it's interesting. So we'll definitely get to see a lot of this here in the NL West, as we'll be watching a lot of NL West baseball this year. And I'm excited to see how Corbin Carroll does. Like the one thing that stands out to me about Corbin Carroll is we're the same height and weight and both left-handed. So I kind of got to root for him, right?
Yeah, sure.
Even though he's like in a division rival.
Well, the Diamondbacks are getting good this season.
The Diamondbacks look tough. They look really tough, everybody.
Yeah.
Look out for the Snakes. All right. Well, that was fun. And that was Beyond the Box Score. It's a fun little segment. We did Blake Schnell on the previous episode, so if you missed that, be sure to go back and check that out. All right. Other than that, I don't have much left for today's episode, Nika, other than a couple highlights from the MLB Network's 30-15 segment, everybody.
Oh, does it include a drinking game?
There is a new drinking game, and it is courtesy of our favorite player, Fernando Tatis Jr.
Can you hear the drums, Fernando?
How many times can Fernando say amazing in one interview? Well, last night, we happened to catch this during his interview with Greg Amsinger, everybody, on MLB Network.
Amazing, amazing. I'm definitely happy for what he did. You know, amazing to see in front of your eyes. Yeah, he was amazing. He was a great talent. What he did his entire career was amazing.
I got 4 times on that one, Nika. Four times in that interview, we caught Fernando saying amazing. So 4 shots of tequila.
If you take 4 shots of tequila, you'd be done for the rest of the day and tomorrow, most likely.
Me? Yeah, I would be totally in the brown bag and not coming out for sunlight. Whew. No, thank you. No tequila sunrise for me. This was actually, there was a serious kind of question here from Greg where he compared Fernando to Ichiro and was kind of fishing for Fernando. And here's the whole exchange.
Ichiro Suzuki also had a cannon. He moved like a middle infielder, which is obviously your agility as well and your athleticism.
Yes.
I just feel like Ichiro's the closest comp to you in right. He's had some amazing throws. What do you think of that comparison?
I'm flattered. I mean, Hall of Famer. What he did his entire career was amazing, and you know, being compared to him is definitely a blessing. And now let's try to do it a little bit even better.
All right. Well, I got to be honest, Greg. I would not look at Fernando Tatis Jr. and compare him to Ichiro upon first sight. You know, one is a little bit taller, lankier guy, power hitter, and the other is a contact hitting. And just because they both play right field, I understand the comparison about the throws, I guess. But I think Fernando, when I see, reminds me more of Ken Griffey Jr. You know, like he scales the wall and robs homers. And he has a rocket for an arm and he hits power, you know, and he's a junior and they're both named the Kid. So I'm just surprised you missed that one, Greg. Like, where were you?
It's somebody chirping in his ear, telling him answers.
I think they're just talking about Ichiro because he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. But I mean, this is just unnecessary promotion. Ichiro is great by himself. He doesn't need the extra comparisons or promotions.
And that's why Fernando's answer was politically correct.
Of course. And you're going to be flattered, right?
Of course. Of course. Amazing.
All right. Well, on to some serious stuff. Someone was asking Dylan Cease what his favorite pitch to strike out hitters with was. And I was like, are you serious, man? You really need to ask Dylan Cease this? Well, Yonder did it. Yonder Alonso, everybody.
Your favorite pitch executed perfectly that you can remember right now. Take me through that. Which one is
Off the top of my head?
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of sliders, obviously, I can think of, especially in 22 when I feel like I was putting my slider wherever I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's always satisfying to dot a fastball inside for strike 3. That comes to mind, but I'd have to go check the highlight reel out to tell you.
All right. Well, obviously, he doesn't know about Dylan Cease in his poetry career, Nika. If he would have been on top of his game and done his homework ahead of this interview, he would have never even asked this question. He would have instead said, why do you like to strike people out with your slider so much?
That would have been a better question. But
well, he didn't get any slider poetry, and but I want to hear some. Can you play some for me?
Poetry?
Oh, slider, slide. Oh, slider, slide. Past the batsman, I send that round cow high.
Sure.
Thanks, Nika. All right. Well, good luck making that slider slide, Dylan, this year, because I want to see it. And a lot of people picking big things for Dylan Cease this year. He's a free agent pitcher after this year, and that tends to usually lead to good seasons out of people because they want to get paid.
Of course. I just hope he stays with the Padres. He might get traded before the All-Star games.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens. There might be some maneuvers to be made out there.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. AJ, always cooking up deals, but we both like a lot of the players on the Padres and don't want to see them go, including Michael King, Dylan Cease, Luis Ariz, but it's also a business and some of those moves might need to happen sooner or later.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see. All right. Well, on to the serious things here now. We heard from Nando and we heard from Dylan Cease, two of the jokers on the team, I would say. But now we got to hear from the team captain, Manny Machado. He was asked, what are the keys to success for the Padres in 2025?
I look at this roster, a bunch of special players all around, but what's going to be the key to this year's team?
Biggest thing is, man, just keep playing as a team. I think it's if we handle the baseball, we handle the team, team defense, team baseball like we did last year. Moving guys over. I think the biggest key for us, I think offensively, I think we're gonna have a good year, right? We have Toddy come back healthy. Myself, Bogey's gonna have a big year. Jackson, obviously, we're gonna lead with him as well. But I think defense is going to be the key for us. We, with our pitching staff, how we pitch, use Petco to our advantage. We clean up that defense and we become a top defensive team. I think, that's going to take us a long way.
And I really love this answer from Manny because it speaks to what we saw last year as being the success for the Padres, which is just they play as a team. And we feel so many teams around baseball just lack playing as a team together. They take selfish at bats. They try to hit home runs. And the whole Padres mantra of taking what the game gives you is a team philosophy.
Yes.
So
I hope it continues from last year to this year.
Yeah.
And it just gets improved even more.
I would say, I think it's going to continue. I just hope they continue to execute and not give people at bats. And yes, Fernando, you want to swing hard on the ball. It doesn't mean you have to swing outside of your body. You can let your body do the work for you.
Be confident. Be confident in your own mechanics.
And less is more. Yeah, but I love this answer from Manny, and it just kind of shows me that the team philosophy is not a one-off. Mike Schilt came here to San Diego and is changing the culture of this baseball team. And he has almost the perfect enforcer in Manny Machado. Speaking of which, let's hear from Mike Schilt.
Is it intimidating, Mike, to watch the Dodgers spend over $500 million this offseason to add to what was already a great team?
No.
Why not?
Because we only take care of what we can control. We think about the Dodgers. You brought it up. We respect it. We compete against them. We compete against everybody. We don't. Well, we have 162 games there on the schedule. It's really about how we compete, how we play, and, how we carry ourselves and how we take care of our business. And we do that, play the game the right way, regardless of opponent. We'll feel good about shaking hands a lot of the times, and I don't want to spend any mental energy on any other club. We're going to respect them. We're going to prepare like heck for them. But as far as really thinking about what they're doing, I have no control over it. Clearly a well-run organization, World Series champions, and we'll look forward to the competition.
Well, I don't blame Greg for asking this question, but I love the response from Mike Schilt too. What do you want me to do? I'm going to compete against the games that are given to me,
No, but I love how he answered definitively. No.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not even going to elaborate on this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people look at the Padres and see that their team kind of came together last year around the All-Star break. We know they went on that huge run. They were like, 44-17 or something to close out the season. Just a ridiculous winning percentage, 700-ish.
But the World Series, the postseason series between the Dodgers and the Padres, even MLB admits it was a World Series worthy.
Yeah, I mean, they were the best two teams maybe in all of the playoffs last year. And it's just a shame that they had to play each other in round 2 and not round 3 or 4. It would have made a hell of a 7-game series.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Just the fact that it only got to go 5 and there was that much kind of hot blood on the field, if you will.
Yeah,
both teams were into it.
Most entertaining, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was almost like the NLCS and the World Series couldn't live up to it, because it was so intense. But that's what you get with those division rival matchups sometimes. So, okay, everybody. Well, I hope their whole team doesn't give up on this philosophy. It's all about the team. And I think the Padres do play better team baseball than the Dodgers do. And that's because the Dodgers are more built around individual at bats, and playing percentages that way. We saw that they can strike often and be very potent, but we also can see how one pitcher can, derail their whole team. And we saw them struggle last year. No doubt about it.
We did.
I think this year's going to go very differently for the Dodgers. I feel like people are overestimating what they're going to get out of everybody, except for them. They know what they're going to get out of their guys. They know that Ohtani might not go 100 innings this year. They know that Sasaki might not go 100 innings this year. They know Blake Snell's probably not going to go over 150. Where does that leave you? You know, Yamamoto carrying the weight? I don't know. I don't know yet. We haven't seen it for that long of a season yet. Everything's hypothetical and built on hypotheticals.
Yeah. Time will tell how many injuries they're going to have. Time will tell how well they do as a team. It is more individualized of the Dodgers.
It is. But they did make some great signings, no doubt about it, to shore up some, like Kiki Hernandez, for example, team player for the Dodgers, big player for them. Tommy Edman, getting him on that 5-year deal. So they have really made effort to become more team oriented, I feel like. But nevertheless, we have a lot of big sluggers on there. And with Ohtani pitching this year, is he going to be able to do the same damage from the leadoff spot that he was doing last year? I don't know. I'm glad I'm not being paid to make these decisions, Nika.
We will wait and see, as you always say.
All right. Well, before we leave, two more sound bites from our guy in Seattle, Julio. As we said, MLB Network also catching up with the Mariners and our guy, Julio Rodriguez, at spring training. And I'm really hoping to see a big bounce back season from Julio. And he's got a new hitting coach, Edgar Martinez, who's a Hall of Fame hitter. And I really like the idea of these guys being together. Here's what Julio had to say about working with Edgar Martinez in his first spring training.
I mean, so much, man, like so much. You know, like he has so much experience, you know, in the game. You know, he was a big part of his career as a DH hitter. And, you know, he just adds so much value, you know, and trust and belief to us as a hitter. And, like, he just, like I said, like, you know, he helped me out with my hands, you know, with my rhythm. And with my approach, too, it's just like, as a hitter, I can just benefit so much from him, and I'm so glad that he's part of this organization.
Well, I got to be honest here, Nika. I was a little disappointed with Julio's answer here because there's just a lot of platitudes here, and he's not really saying a whole lot. So, without further ado, here's my kudos of the week. It goes out to Yonder Alonso for actually asking a follow-up question here and pushing and pressing Julio maybe to get a little bit more detail-oriented here. Let's hear it.
Can you show me what he's done with your hands?
Like I said, you know, I like...
Because you stand normal on the box.
Yeah.
Like, you're not on top of the plate, you're not off the plate,
Yeah.
You're kind of normal.
Yeah.
But what was it for you? Was it more just looking for fastballs, legs, getting connected, or is it just, hey, not that much movement with your hands?
Well, I mean, not really like that I'm not doing really movement, because if you see me, like, you know, I'm kind of having some type of, you know, flow, balance.
You're Latino. Bachata. We're dancing.
You gotta have something. But like with my hands, I'm always just kind of like right around where I fire from. I'm still like moving everything, but like they don't move like crazy like that back or like forward. I try to have it like right here. I kind of have my rhythm from there. And once I go, I just want to have like everything ready and see the ball and trying to hit a low line drive to the middle.
All right, well, that's better, Julio. I wanted to hear some actual technical, you know, breakdown here of your swing. And look, I'm glad Julio's working with a real hitting coach. I think we both felt like Scott Service was anchor on this team. I saw another comment about the Mariners that how can they be serious when they were so bad last year and they didn't make hardly any moves in the offseason. Donovan Solano was like literally their lone signing. And my answer is I think a lot of the people there feel like it's coaching. They felt like their team was underachieving because of coaching alone. And I think they want to wait and see what they can get out of this group of players with actual legitimate coaches. We saw the Bears in football, what happened when they don't have a legitimate head coach. It just turns into a shit show. No, sorry for my language, but it is. It's a shit show.
It's true. Look at the Padres. They got a change of coaching.
Yeah. But yeah.
Switch
And
from Melvin.
with all due respect, you know, I know Bob Melvin's got 2 Coach of the Year awards, but he's a very hands-off coach, even by his own admission, I think, when you hear him. And like, I think pro players want to be challenged more. They want to be coached more. And this idea that you should be a hands-off head coach, like it shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
It's a cop-out. It's a way to let the players run the locker room. And that's what you get when you have a Bob Melvin at the helm. or an Eberflus at the helm, look what happened. The Bears beat themselves last year. They beat the Commanders on the road, a team that went to the NFC Championship game. They had the same record in that game. It was in Washington. The Bears came back, beat them on the road, only to give it up with 20 seconds left on a Hail Mary. And it was because of an arrogant players mocking the stands right before the ball was hiked and wasn't in position where he was supposed to be to make the play. Coaching. Lacking discipline and no respect for the coach.
Well, the Bears coaching staff lost the locker room before the season started.
And Scott Service, I think, lost the Mariners locker room last year because they just weren't. They weren't trying. They were leading. We saw some of those games offense. We were like, where is it?
You know, it will be good indicator for the Giants and Melvin this season.
Yeah,
there will be his second season at the helm over there. And how well they're going to do, well, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But.
Well, I'm not expecting big things out of the Giants. And it's because I just think at the end of the day, they're going to run out of coaching. You know, they might have a decent season, but there's a ceiling with Bob Melvin as your manager. And when you have a situation, I think, where you have stars and egos and how to manage egos want to still be challenged and be told, hey, there's room for you to get better.
That's because egos don't fit into analytics.
Yes.
Bob Melvin is very analytical coach. He goes by paper. That's it. Where you have to manage egos, you got to be a little bit more than just analytics.
Yeah, it's managing egos, managing in-game scenarios, and kind of matching those against each other in a way too.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the part of the job that's twofold that I think a lot of people don't see. They see like, oh, you have to make all these decisions and stuff, but you also have to manage all these emotions and egos. And these are guys that got to where they got to because they are some of the most competitive in the world, except for Anthony Rendon.
Well, the Dodgers going to face that problem this year. There's a lot of egos on that team.
A lot of egos. And I've maintained what happens when shit hits the fan. What happens when you lose 3 in a row with that much talent in your locker room?
Yeah. What happens?
And how quickly do the finger points come out? And what does that do
to the dynamic?
It doesn't matter if it's May or it doesn't in September, you know?
Doesn't matter. We're going to be here to report it on.
We are right here on the Kanika Sports Show, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us. Boy, oh boy, we got to get out of here and wrap up. Before I go, feel free to email us or reach out to us, follow us. We need all of the help and support we can get. And we are going to be back here again on Friday with another episode where we fill in all these buckets: news, stop the presses, rumors, injury reports, behind the box score. We're here for it all. And we'll probably clip some more 30-15 segments this week as those are happening. World Baseball Classic news. We'll be here to report on it all. See you guys on Friday with another episode of the Kanika Sports Show, everybody.
Bye.